up? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. This your boy Trey Larkins with the Wise Guys Sports Show. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Don't forget, each and every Monday, it's the We Not Boxed In podcast with myself and Cincinnati Bearcats legend Melvin Levitt at Park Place, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's the We Not Boxed In podcast with yours truly, Trey Larkins, and Cincinnati Bearcats legend Melvin Levitt, each and every Monday at Park Place, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. with my boy Tay Payne behind the scenes with On Impact Recruiting Services. So Wise Guys Sports, On Impact Recruiting Services, and Melvin Levitt in the house in Park Place, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. each and every Monday. But I want to get into some NFL. Also, I wanted to discuss the NBA Finals. We got Thunder at Pacers tonight in Indy. Game 3 series is tied at 1 game apiece. I'm going to get into that here in a bit. But I wanted to come on here and I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, he signed a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers last week, and he is currently attending OTAs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And listening to First Take earlier, and Stephen A., he's a Steelers fan, and he was talking about how excited he is because Aaron Rodgers is now the quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And last week, after the Steelers signed Aaron Rodgers, they had an entire video on the Pittsburgh Steelers Instagram of Aaron Rodgers highlights and showing highlights of him in prime. So, as a Packers fan, of course, I chuckled to myself as I watched those Aaron Rodgers highlights from 7, 8, 10, 11 years ago, and I just chuckled to myself. And I came on here last week and I talked about Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, so I want to come on here and reiterate my beliefs on the Pittsburgh Steelers and my expectations for the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers this upcoming season. I know Aaron Rodgers last year coming off an Achilles injury for the New York Jets. I know he had 28 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. I know he had over 3,800 passing yards for the New York Jets last year. And you compare that to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had Justin Fields and Russell Wilson last year. Russell Wilson for the season, he had 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2,400 passing yards. So, obviously, from a statistical standpoint, Aaron Rodgers had a better season than Russell Wilson had last year. Obviously, he had more touchdown passes than Russ had. He had more passing yards than Russ had as well. But I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I believe that Aaron Rodgers is washed, and this version of Aaron Rodgers will not be an upgrade over Russell Wilson. Let me say it again for the people in the back who are Steelers fans who are excited about this signing. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to be any better in 2025 with Aaron Rodgers than they were in 2024 with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Okay? Russell Wilson and Justin Fields both contributed to the Steelers getting to the playoffs last year. But do I believe that the Steelers are going to be this Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers? No! Get this out of your brain, Steelers fans. I think the Steelers, they have been so disappointed with their quarterbacks since Ben Roethlisberger retired, they are willing to take anybody at this point. They are willing to take anybody. Aaron Rodgers is no longer in his prime. His best days are behind him. So, no, I don't believe the Steelers are a better football team with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback than were with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, for that matter. As a matter of fact, with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, you get better leadership, because as great as Aaron Rodgers has been throughout his career, his leadership has been a question mark when it comes to him being the quarterback on the Packers and the Jets. His leadership has been in question. Let's be honest. Russell Wilson is a great leader. I think Russ is a tremendous leader. If I was a player that was playing for a particular organization and Russell Wilson was my quarterback, I would love to play with a quarterback like Russell Wilson. I think Russ is a leader, and he knows how to lead a group of men who are trying to accomplish one goal. But we know with Aaron Rodgers, it's all about him. Aaron Rodgers is a diva, okay? And that's the biggest reason why, as a Packers fan, I am happy that Aaron Rodgers is no longer the Green Bay Packers quarterback. It has been less drama and more peace within the Packers organization since Aaron Rodgers departed 3 years ago. It has been less drama and more peaceful in Green Bay. And as a fan, I enjoy being able to watch the Packers and watch Jordan Love be the quarterback of my team without all the extra behind the scenes stuff and off the field stuff. I don't want to deal with that. But like I said, I know last year Aaron Rodgers, from a statistical standpoint, had a better season than Russell Wilson, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers is an upgrade over Russell Wilson right now at this point in his career. His best days are behind him, and Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, they managed the game last year for the Steelers. And so I'm listening to Steelers fans and Steelers analysts talk about how, all we need is for Aaron Rodgers to just manage the game. We have an elite defense. We got an elite defense. All we need is for Aaron Rodgers to manage the game. But I'm thinking to myself, isn't that exactly what Justin Fields and Russell Wilson did last year? Wilson and Fields both managed the game last year for the Pittsburgh Steelers at the quarterback position. So what is Aaron Rodgers going to do to get you over the hump and have the Steelers in those conversations with the Kansas City Chiefs, with the Buffalo Bills, with the Baltimore Ravens? What is Aaron Rodgers going to do at the quarterback position for the Steelers to be able to compete with the Ravens and the Chiefs and the Bills? Can somebody come on here and tell me? Come on here and tell me, what is Aaron Rodgers going to be able to do that Justin Fields and Russell Wilson could not do last year for the Steelers? Come on here and make it make sense for me. Because I'm sitting here trying to figure out how the hell the Steelers are going to be better in 2025 than they were in 2024. We know that they have an elite defense. Now, I know TJ Watt has not participated in OTAs, but I expect TJ Watt to be back by training camp. And we know he's going to suit up week 1. And TJ Watt is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. And that defense will be top 10, maybe even top 5 in the NFL. And the Steelers have a very, very, very respected head coach in Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is one of the most respected NFL head coaches in the league. But I got news for Steelers fans and even Mike Tomlin. As great as Mike Tomlin is, even him being as respected as he is, he's a Super Bowl champion. But Mike Tomlin has not won a playoff game since 2016. Did y'all know that the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are tied with the Miami Dolphins for the longest losing streak in the playoffs? The Pittsburgh Steelers have lost six straight playoffs. That was the year in the NBA Finals when LeBron and Steph, Kyrie, Klay Thompson, that's when they went 7 games, and that arguably was the greatest NBA Finals I ever watched. Different sport. But that was the last time we actually saw the Steelers win a playoff game. Think about that. And I'm going to be honest. Everybody knows that I'm a Packers fan, and so I live in the city of Cincinnati. So I like to joke around and mess with my family and friends who are diehard Bengal fans. And so for years, I used to always say to the Bengal fans, hey, you guys are not better than the Packers, than the Patriots, than the Steelers. I can't no longer say that the Steelers are better than the Bengals. At least the Bengals have won a few playoff games. At least the Bengals have a Super Bowl appearance. The Steelers have not won a playoff game since 2016. And I love Mike Tomlin. But sometimes I do wonder if the Pittsburgh Steelers need a new voice. We know Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's one of the most respected coaches in the NFL. But I do wonder sometimes if the Pittsburgh Steelers need a new voice. And so for me, I don't believe Aaron Rodgers puts the Steelers in that Super Bowl contender conversation with the Buffalo Bills, with the Baltimore Ravens, or with the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. And even when you just look at the AFC North alone, right now, the Ravens and the Bengals both are better than the Steelers to me. Now, I know the Steelers made the playoffs last year and the Bengals missed the playoffs. But if you really watched the games last year, towards the end of the season, the Bengals were playing better football than the Steelers were. Matter of fact, I believe the Bengals beat the Steelers in Week 18, if I'm not mistaken. So right now, I'm having a hard time figuring out how Aaron Rodgers makes the Steelers better than what they were with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I think, if anything, they'll be equivalent, which means they'll be a possible playoff team, maybe. But like I tell Steelers fans, since when did making the playoffs become the standard? The Pittsburgh Steelers have 6 Super Bowls in their history. 6 Super Bowls in their history. So the Steelers making the playoffs has never been the standard. The standard is for the Steelers to go on deep playoff runs and play deep into January. And the Pittsburgh Steelers have not won a playoff game since 2016. They are tied with the Miami Dolphins for the longest streak without a playoff win. It's been that bad for the Steelers. And the thing is about the Steelers in the past, they were always a team that relied on their running game and they want to play elite defense. I got news for you, Steelers fans and Steelers organization. That is no longer the way that you win in today's NFL. The way you win in today's NFL is by having an elite quarterback. You have to have a quarterback who is considered that dude in order to win Super Bowls. But forget about even winning Super Bowls. Just being able to go on a deep playoff run. You have to have a quarterback who you consider that guy. Like the Chiefs have with Patrick Mahomes. Like the Bills have with Josh Allen. Like the Bengals have with Joe Burrow. Like like the Ravens have with Lamar Jackson, like the Eagles have with a Jalen Hurts, like the Rams have with a Matthew Stafford. Even Jaden Daniels last year showed me something because he was balling in the playoffs for the Commanders. Jaden Daniels was balling last year for the Washington Commanders. So to me, the Pittsburgh Steelers and their approach, they have to change their approach. That we're going to get a quarterback to manage the game for us and not mess things up. And we're going to play elite defense and win with our defense and our running game. That no longer is the right formula if you want to be considered a true Super Bowl contender. And another thing that confused me with the Pittsburgh Steelers, considering that Aaron Rodgers is up in age, you would have thought that they would have kept George Pickens. I thought when they traded for DK Metcalf, I thought the idea was we are going to pair DK Metcalf alongside George Pickens, and George Pickens is going to learn from DK Metcalf. Instead, they decided to trade George Pickens to the Cowboys. And I like that move for the Cowboys. I like George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb as their wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, but it made no sense to me why the Pittsburgh Steelers would trade George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. That made no sense to me. I thought the whole idea of trading for a DK Metcalf was to pair DK Metcalf with George Pickens. Instead, the Steelers, for whatever reason, again, the Steelers, they think everything they think about is defense. They think defense and they think running game and running backs. But you need receivers and you need a good quarterback to be able to compete in the playoffs. I didn't even say a great quarterback because I still don't even think that Jalen Hurts is great. I think Jalen Hurts is good, but I wouldn't consider Jalen Hurts great yet. Like, I don't view Jalen Hurts in the same conversation as I view a Joe Burrow or a Patrick Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen. But I didn't understand that move whatsoever from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why would you trade George Pickens to the Cowboys? Because I thought about it once the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf. I was thinking that dynamic duo at receiver with George Pickens and DK Metcalf, that is elite. That's big time. I was thinking at the time, I'm like, oh, you can have DK Metcalf and George Pickens in the same conversations as a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins, as a Tyreek Hill, and I'm drawing a blank, the other receiver. I'm in my basketball mode right now. What's the other receiver for the Dolphins? The fast receiver. I can't think of his name right now. But it's Tyreek Hill and the other receiver. It'll come to me here shortly. But that's what I was thinking. Hell, even Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown with the Eagles. That's what I was thinking. When the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf, I'm like, oh, okay, this is a nice 1-2 punch at the receiver position. They deserve to be in those conversations with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Okay? That's what I was thinking. I seriously was thinking that. But, man, I just don't understand what they were thinking by trading George Pickens. It made no sense to me. It really made no sense. But, yeah, man, I just don't think the Steelers will be any better in 2025 than they were in 2024. But the AFC North with Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, that is a very, very entertaining quarterback division. And I look forward to watching the AFC North this year. I really do. I think right now the Ravens and the Bengals both are better than the Steelers and the Browns are. But we'll see. We'll see what happens as the season gets closer. But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see. My bad, y'all. Back on here. But yeah, so back to what I was saying about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, I just didn't understand why they traded George Pickens. When the Pittsburgh Steelers acquired George Pickens and I'm sorry, not acquired George Pickens, acquired DK Metcalf, rather. When the Pittsburgh Steelers acquired DK Metcalf, I was thinking, okay, DK Metcalf and George Pickens, they deserve to be in those conversations with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But they decided to trade George Pickens to the Cowboys. And so now, who's going to be that reliable number 2 receiver for the Steelers in this offense? Who? I don't know. I all I see is DK Metcalf getting a ton of targets, but if you rotate the safety over, you can contain DK Metcalf and limit his production. So I just didn't understand for the life of me why the Steelers would acquire DK Metcalf and then trade George Pickens. That made absolutely no sense to me. No sense at all in the world. But again, I don't have high expectations for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't have them as a playoff team right now. And just off the top of my head, in the AFC, I believe in the AFC North, they are probably the 3rd best team behind the Bengals and the Ravens. In the AFC East, obviously the Bills are better than the Steelers are. In the AFC West, I'm probably going to take the Broncos. The Chiefs, they go without saying. I'm probably going to take the Broncos over the Steelers right now. The Dolphins in the AFC East as well. They're in the AFC East. The Dolphins probably are better than the Steelers. I will still have to see those 2 teams, how they play to begin the season, but I just don't have high expectations for the Steelers. And I don't have them as a playoff team right now in the AFC. And that could change. That could change once the season starts. But I just don't think Aaron Rodgers is that guy anymore. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is that guy anymore. And, I don't think the Steelers are going to be any better in 2025 than they were in 2024. But everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Let's transition to some NBA. Let's talk about the NBA Finals. We got Game 3 tonight. Thunder, Pacers. The Thunder are favored by 5.5 points, I believe. It's an 8:30 p.m. tip-off on ABC. So the series has transitioned to Naptown. So I watched Games 1 and Games 2 of the NBA Finals. So I have watched all 96 minutes of the Finals. And I cannot find one single advantage that the Indiana Pacers have over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Seriously, I've watched every minute of the Finals, and I can't find one advantage that the Pacers have over the Thunder. And obviously, in these first 2 games, SGA has been balling. I believe SGA has 72 points. That's the most points by a player in their first 2 NBA Finals games. That's the most since Allen Iverson. So SGA has been balling. But the thing is, when you look at the Thunder, specifically in Game 2, it was the others who played at a high level for the Thunder alongside SGA. Like Alex Caruso had a good game in Game 2. Aaron Wiggins had a good game in Game 2. And Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, they haven't even had great performances yet. And the thing is, as we head into Game 3 tonight, I know the series is tied at 1 game apiece. Maybe it's just me, but doesn't it feel like the Thunder are up 2-0? It feels like the Thunder are up 2-0, and we're not tied at 1 game apiece. Now, the Pacers, to their credit, They stole game one. They overcame a 15-point deficit in game one. That was their fifth game where they trailed by 15 points or more and won in the playoffs. So we know the Indiana Pacers are resilient, and they literally stole game one. But after watching these first two games, the Thunder are clearly the better team. And the one thing about the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, for me, I have been very, very disappointed with Tyrese Halliburton in these first two games in the NBA Finals. As great as Tyrese Halliburton has played throughout the playoff run for the Indiana Pacers, and I know he's hit a game winner or a game tying shot in each round for the Indiana Pacers, I have been disappointed with Tyrese Halliburton's performance in the NBA Finals because specifically in game two, going into the fourth quarter of game two, Halliburton had 5 points. Now he finished with 17 points, but he had 5 points going into the fourth quarter. 12 points in the fourth quarter. Tyrese, you are in the NBA Finals, bro. You are going up against the Oklahoma City, a team who was the best team in the Western Conference. They were the best team in the NBA throughout the regular season. And right now, they have an 81-18 record, I believe. 81-18 record, I believe, throughout the entire season. So, bro, you can't keep getting off to these slow starts. That's going to be important tonight in game three. Tyrese Halliburton has to come out the gate and be aggressive for the Indiana Pacers to have a chance. He got to come out the gate and be aggressive. 5 points going into the fourth quarter. Now he had 12 points in the fourth quarter, but it was too little, too late for the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton in game two. So in game three, at home, in front of your home crowd, Tyrese, I need you to come out and be aggressive and set the tone for your team tonight. That's the only way the Pacers have a chance. That's the only way. So Tyrese Halliburton, he has to come out and be more aggressive. And I think he also has to, honestly, he has to be more aggressive from a scoring standpoint. I don't believe Halliburton can just be this true point guard and distribute the basketball if the Pacers want to have any chance at beating the Thunder. Halliburton is going to have to insert himself and play more aggressive and try to score at an elite level. And we've watched Halliburton. He's been able to do that. I believe it was game 4 against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. I believe Halliburton had over 30 points. I believe he had a triple-double, if I'm not mistaken. So we've seen Halliburton be able to score at an elite level. Tyrese Halliburton cannot just be a passing point guard. He's going to have to be a passing/scoring point guard for the Indiana Pacers to have any snowball chance in hell at being able to pull off this upset over the Oklahoma City Thunder. So Halliburton has to come out and be more aggressive. Also, from a defensive standpoint, and I'm gonna ask y'all this question, and I've thought about this. If you are Rick Carlisle, you have to pick a poison. Either you allow SGA to get his points and stop everyone else and say, okay, SGA can get 40, but we're not going to allow anyone else to beat us. Or you sell out to try and contain, because you can't stop, but contain SGA and try to contain him as much as you can and see if others on the Thunder can beat you. Rick Carlisle has to make a tough decision. That's why I'm not in the NBA and I'm not into coaching, because this is a tough decision that he has to make. Either you sell out to try and completely contain SGA and make others beat you, or you allow SGA to get his points and you try to stop everyone else and say, SGA can't beat us by himself. Rick Carlisle has to make a tough decision. He got to make a tough decision because right now, allowing these role players for the Thunder to have huge impacts on these games, that's not going to bode well for the Pacers. Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, they were balling in game 2 for the Thunder. They were balling. And it's weird because the Pacers won game 1 with 24 turnovers. They had 24 turnovers in game 1, but even though they had 24 turnovers, the Thunder only had, I believe, like 11 points off of those 24 turnovers by the Pacers. So the Thunder, they didn't take advantage of the Pacers' turnovers in game 1. And then in game 2, the Thunder, they played much better. The Thunder, they shot better from the floor, from a field goal percentage perspective. They had more assists in game 2 than they had in game 1. They had more rebounds in game 2 than they had in game 1. And also, and this is why the Thunder are so elite and so great, because the Thunder, they play elite defense. The Pacers shot 46% from 3 in game 1. And 2, the Pacers only shot 35% from 3. So the Thunder, they amped up their defensive intensity, and they were not allowing the Pacers to get hot from 3-point range. And to me, that's the only way the Pacers can compete in this series. They have to hit the perimeter shots. If the Pacers do not shoot a high percentage from 3, this is going to be a short series, and the Thunder are probably going to win in 5. And that actually leads me to my next point. I hope I'm wrong. But I got a weird feeling that the Thunder are going to win both games 3 and games 4 in that town in the NBA Finals, and they are going to go back home, back to Oklahoma City in game 5 with a chance to close out the Pacers in the NBA Finals. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Pacers can win one of these 2 games in that town, but I got this weird feeling that the Thunder are going to win the next 2 games in Indy, and if they win the next 2 games in Indy, the series will be over, because there is no way in hell that the Thunder are going to lose in a game 5 with a chance to win their first NBA championship in their franchise history. So I got a weird feeling that the Thunder are about to win 3 straight. I hope I'm wrong. I hope and pray I'm wrong. But I got a feeling that the Thunder are about to win 3 straight games. But I've been wrong before. Hopefully I'm wrong again. Now, before the series, I did pick the Thunder in 6. I picked the Thunder in 6. But after watching these first 2 games, it wouldn't shock me one bit if the Thunder beat the Pacers in 5 games. And it's a gentleman's sweep. Seriously. The more I thought about it after game 2, I was thinking to myself, the Pacers lucked up in game 1. They lucked up in game 1. They lucked up. They really, really did. For whatever reason, the Thunder allowed the Pacers to overcome a double-digit deficit and get back into that game. And Tyrese Halliburton hit a big shot. He hit a big shot. And to his credit, Tyrese Halliburton has been very, very clutch this postseason. He's been clutch. But overall, I have been disappointed in Halliburton's performances in games 1 and games 2 of the NBA Finals. Tonight, he has to come out and be more aggressive. The only advantage I can think of that the Pacers have over the Thunder is head coach. I believe Rick Carlisle is a better head coach than Mark Daigneault. Now, I like Mark Daigneault, but Rick Carlisle is more proven than Mark Daigneault. But, man, that's another thing I was thinking about. Remember in 2011 when the Dallas Mavericks upset the Miami Heat? That was the Dallas Mavericks team with Dirk Nowitzki and Jason Kidd and Jason Terry. They upset and beat LeBron, D. Wade, and Bosh in the NBA Finals. Rick Carlisle was the head coach of that team. And so, similar to 2011, in this year in the NBA Finals, Rick Carlisle's team is significantly the underdogs in this series. And so I was thinking, like, man, what if Rick Carlisle pulls this off? What if Rick Carlisle actually is able to win this NBA Finals as the Pacers head coach? That means he would have 2 NBA championships on his resume as head coach. And that would be 2 of the biggest upsets in NBA Finals history, with the Mavericks beating the Heat in 2011 and the Pacers beating the Thunder in 2025. That would be a huge upset. And to me, if Rick Carlisle is able to pull this off and the Pacers are able to win the NBA Finals, Rick Carlisle should be considered a lot for the NBA Hall of Fame. A lot for the NBA Hall of Fame if the Pacers can pull this off. That would be 2 upsets as underdogs that Rick Carlisle would have been able to pull off as a head coach. So he would definitely be a lock for the Hall of Fame. But I don't see it happening. And unfortunately for Rick Carlisle and the Indiana Pacers and the city of Indiana, I believe Oklahoma City, they are going to win the NBA Finals. I just don't know if it's going to be in 5 or 6 games. I'm hoping and praying it's not in 5 games. So I'm praying that the Pacers can win one of these 2 games in Indy. Otherwise, if we're going back to Oklahoma City and it's Thunder 3-1 over the Pacers, that will be all she wrote in the NBA Finals. And the NBA season will be officially over Monday night in Oklahoma City. I think Monday is game 5 because game 3 is tonight. Game 4 is Friday night in Indianapolis. So game 5 will be Monday night in Oklahoma City. If OKC wins both games in Indy, the NBA season will be over Monday night in Oklahoma City. It'll be officially over. That is Monday, June the 15th. So hopefully Pacers can get a win tonight or Friday. But Tyler Halliburton has to come out and be more aggressive out the gate. He cannot wait until the Pacers are down double digits to the Thunder and then start to be aggressive. He has to come out and be aggressive early and often. Another thing for the Pacers, they need their bench to outperform the Thunder bench. The Pacers bench has to outperform the Thunder's bench. That's the only way the Pacers have a chance to win this series. So Benedict Mathurin, TJ McConnell, Obi Toppin, Thomas Bryant, they have to play at an elite level. They can't allow the Alex Carusos, the Aaron Wiggins, the Isaiah Joes of the world outplay them. They have to come out and put their imprint and have an impact on these games. They have to have an impact in these games. Seriously. So those are my thoughts on the NBA Finals. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on all social media platforms. And don't forget, each and every Monday, it's the We Not Boxed In podcast with myself and Melvin Levitt. We are at Park Place, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. with Dante Payne with On Impact Recruiting Services behind the scenes. Park Place, We Not Boxed In podcast, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Y'all enjoy y'all Wednesday. It's hump day. Game 3 tonight. Thunder, Pacers, 8:30 p.m. tip-off in that town. I'll be watching. Y'all enjoy y'all Wednesday evening.